Right, I have to say that this is in no way an indictment in violence of any description. Okay, it is going over history and saying how it repeats itself. Now, I've heard the saying in the past, kill the fucking lot of them, right? Which is to come to that stage and to be actually able to say that, yeah, you know, you've lost a load of humanity already, okay? So there's different reasons that people come to this. Now, if you want to go to Germany, there was the dehumanization of the Jews. The teachings that the Jews were somehow different to the German people, how the Aryan race was better. And over a slow process of indoctrination, they actually believed that they were morally right in doing what they did, which obviously you now know they weren't, okay? You can look at, say, for instance, Northern Ireland, and how, say, for instance, the provisionals looked at the loyalists. Both of them went out their way to kill each other, and you know, they didn't mind on the terrorists on either side. Sometimes didn't mind if innocent people who weren't involved in the troubles, the long war, call it what you want. They didn't give a shit if innocent people got like wrapped up in it. I mean, some of them were just like, and I've heard this said from the loyalists, oh well, a Catholic's a Catholic, innit? And the provost the same, okay? Now, that happened over a space of time. Now, if you think about that, those were people who looked the same and who were very similar in many, many different ways, except some historical events and their understanding of Christianity. One was Catholic, one was Protestant, all right? But they built it up so much to believe that the other side just weren't the same. You'd listen to some of them, and some of them would say, well, what's the difference between you and, oh, well, they're not so clean. And it starts with that, and then they work up, oh, they're this, oh, they're that, oh, whatever. And you would get, say, for instance, I don't know, an old granny saying to some kid, did you bathe yourself in a post piss this morning? I mean, and the other way, I mean, because the provos were terrible. But the point of this is how and where we're going, right? At the moment, I'm starting to talk to a lot of people who are becoming what you might describe as racists, right? And I thought, how did these people that used to look down at me at being racist, all the rest of it, and I'm not, how is it they looked at me like that then, and now they've accelerated to the position that they're at? Well, we talked about acceleration before, politically speaking, okay, and how you wake people up. Well, the current situation is now that people who've seen so much of, I don't know, the people that are coming over from the channel in other ways, and how they've raped their way through, how they've caused crime, how people are getting stabbed, how they hate the women over here, how they've just come to rape our benefit system as well as the flesh, right, etc., etc. And slowly, surely, or not so slowly as the case seems to be, is that we are now dehumanizing them, all right? They've dehumanized us anyway, because if you read their book, if we're not one of them and we don't pray to Allah, then we're infidels and we don't deserve to live. So they've already got some scripture already that tells them this, okay? And there's about 110 different like lines in their book that supersedes other peaceful stuff that tells them that they can do exactly what they fucking want to us because of reasons. However, I do believe that the people of Europe are catching up fast, and I mean, you've got to look over in Ireland. They're really, really revving it up, and I don't blame them, because basically they've had over a quarter of their population increase with people who don't give a fuck if it's a man or a woman they rape, that they just want to rape, right? They've had these people go out and stab kids and stab women, and they're just fucking loopy, right? But when you import third world, you get the third world problems, and we now know that that is the case. And the worst of the thing is that these people are financed and protected by the state and by NGOs, and we are prosecuted and demonized for pointing out the obvious, all right? You're going to say that these people predominantly are 252 times more likely in, say, a place like Bradford, whatever, to rape a white girl than a white man is, right? The liberals and the lefties will go lunatic on you, right? You'll have the police come around and arrest you for hate speech, okay? Etc., etc. That's if you said that. However, the facts don't matter anymore, because facts are racist, facts are prejudiced. But people have got to the point where they're like, well, fuck all of that. I don't like these people. And that's happening everywhere. Now, I'm only telling you what I'm seeing at the moment, and it's going to raise in an alarmingly fast sense, right? I'm a little worried about this because I see the peaceful times ending very soon. Now, nobody in their right mind wants violence, wants trouble, wants any of that, right? And some of you who watch what I do may know that I've done years of studies on the Troubles, okay, over in Ireland, because I think that'll have some bearing on the future. Bear with. What I did know is that everybody who used violence to start with because they couldn't achieve their aims through the political means, right, who ended up going out and doing shootings, bombings, etc., etc., and got lifted for it and spent, some of them, considerable time in Longkesh, the Maze, or other prisons, okay? Fuck it, I'm gonna be around. Cyclists, fucking wankers. They all went in there politically ignorant, in some ways historically ignorant about stuff, and then they got educated in the university of what we'll call the Maze, and then many of them came out to end up being politicians. The irony is, you can't miss the irony, but the one thing they all said was that 30 years of troubles, 30 years of violence, misery, losing close friends, family, people being shot who were innocent, okay? Let alone the people that got shot that were guilty, right? Because many a times they go around to the house, right, and kick the door in and get the wrong person, right? But all of them, even though some of them may not regret doing what they did, they all have regrets that none of this came to achieve anything. This is what worries me further, because looking into the future, all I can see is civil unrest. And civil unrest is terrible. But if you actually achieved your aims through civil unrest, that would be one thing. But I don't know whether it would ever be achieved anyway. And that leaves us with, what have we got? The political system is bought and paid for, so you'll never get these people to enact laws to protect you. Violence, to be honest, the Chinese say if you have to resort to violence, you've already lost. Okay? So have we already lost? This is before any sort of violence happens, and violence is happening out there at the moment. I mean, you've only got to look at all those videos of migrants going up to white kids all over Europe and kicking the living shit out of them simply for them being white. So the violence has already started. Well, where do we go? What do we do? And as I say, I'm not endorsing violence in any way, shape or form. I've got to make this clear because YouTube lefties are going to be like, oh, he's... No, I'm not. So, but I am worried about where it's going. And the other thing is, I've had meetings with some fairly interesting people in Ireland, shall we say. People that knew or first-hand involvement in that time. I've got to be careful about what I say. And they simply said, you could not get away with any of that today. Because if you look back at the old days, right, there was so much intelligence gathering and propaganda, and I watched something about it last night, about the propaganda and how they used to slant the truth, put stuff out in the media that was completely incorrect, and brainwash people. And I was looking at the ways they were doing stuff there, and I was like, fuck me, they're doing exactly the same now, but we're where we are, right? But the guy said, with the intelligence that they've got now, the spying that they could do, right? Because, believe it or not, in parts of Belfast back in the day, every house was being surveilled. And yet they still managed, between 200 and 500 of them, to keep the British Army fucked up, basically. And these people were dedicated, and the army actually worked out in the very early doors that they've got the means to carry on for years and years and years until they get what they want. But the fact is, they went on for 30 years, and they were supported by friends, family, people abroad, whatever. And it was amazing, right? Because this is important too. The loyalists, there's a thing called collusion. The loyalists were helped out by the British state, the RUC, British intelligence, MI6, MI5, and the Force Reconnaissance Unit, the DET, and other members that were attached to things like the SAS. Now, these people gave the details of known provisional activists. They gave all the details where they lived, where they went, etc. And the loyalists became prolific killers. They killed more of the IRA than the IRA did of them. And the point of this is, if the government aren't on our side, right, then what's to stop them doing the same again? Giving details of people like myself, politicians, other social influencers, people who speak out. What's to stop if it goes off that way and we end up with the being on the fringes of civil society breaking down and violence happening, tit for tat, sectarian murders and all that sort of shit, which is what's going to happen as I see it. I mean, sectarianism is, yeah, it is what it will be. What's to stop the state deciding to send the people who we're perceiving to be a threat to us to our door to do the state's work for them? Now, this might sound alarming to you, but if they did it in such a time when we believe that the government was a lot more staunch, a lot more honourable, it wasn't, by the way, then now, when we're being run by absolute abject degenerates, how is it that, say for instance, the extreme left, who are in power at the moment, okay, they've got no qualms at all about, how do I put this legally? Do you remember during the vax, there were many of them, right, that said that we should be denied treatment and be left outside a hospital to die, right? There are many of them that have decided already that because we don't completely suck on the cock of undocumented immigration and Islam, that we're all absolute abject Nazis and racists, and we all deserve not to live, is the best way of putting it, okay? So, if these people are, say for instance, in positions of power, which they are, okay, well, when it all kicks off and they can get away with it and they can just blame it on some radical faction, perhaps, of, say for instance, I don't know, Islam, something similar, right? What's to stop them sending all of the details of people like ourselves to these people to do their work? Because as we know, it's happened many times before in the past, not just through the British state, other countries have done it. So these are the parts that I'm thinking about. And we were all worried about, you know, at some point getting locked up, all right, like Tommy has, and etc. But that's getting locked up, not good. Mind you, a lot of players during the Troubles, once they got locked up, felt a sense of relief because they were then safe to an extent, unless your name's Billy Wright. He was one of the kingpins of loyalism, and he managed to get shot dead in prison, which is quite interesting, because the guards had to let that happen. I digress. So we were all thinking that these super prisons are going to be there to lock up, you know, people who are, I don't know, intellectually savvy about what's happening, or people who are openly broadcasting what they're thinking, okay, or what they see happening, or whatever. But we're thinking we're going to get taken into there, but that might not even happen. So let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know if you think I'm going way too far with this, because as I say, none of this video endorses violence. But what I'm doing is drawing links from the past to where I see the future going. And there'll be a lot of you who are ex-military, who did serve over in, say for instance, places like Ireland. I don't think we've got people here that were in Aden, that's a bit early. You know, there'll be people that will remember other military actions that went on. I mean, we had, over, I'll say it again, in Ireland, we sent out the SAS to go out randomly killing people in Catholic and Protestant areas to stir up trouble. Let that sink in. They were innocent people that just went in there and killed them, right, to stir up the troubles. So if they could do that then, they can do it again. Anyway, as I say, let me know what you think in the comments. Sorry I haven't put a video out in ages. As you can see, I look like shit. I'm not getting a lot of sleep, I have to be honest. and I got hay fever. I don't know how accurate these things are, but I used one of these last night, and one I used my phone to do that sleep to check how you're doing. Well, the phone you're supposed to put on the bed, I didn't realise, so I put it on the side, so it reckons I did better. But this thing reckons I got 0 deep sleep last night, 45 minutes of REM, 1 hour and fucking 40 minutes of restlessness, and the rest of it light sleep. Cheers. So I think I need to do a bit of exercise, because that's got to help, innit? Anyway, there it is. Hope you're all doing well. But it was just this thought that came to me. I was like, I wonder. So I've just got to work out whether I go with the title that I want to, and whether that will cause problems. Who knows? Anyway, I hope you're all doing well. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe, and share this video as well. Thank you very much. See you in a bit.